So this is fresh. We squeezed this morning, and then I put a little lime juice in it. So if you taste that little kick of lime, that's what it is. It's lime. All right.
What subject we gonna talk about today?
I guess one thing that I'd like to talk about is the idea of integrity. And what does integrity mean to you?
Keeping your word, doing what you say, and it means
Following through your commitments.
So yeah. So I think when we make an agreement with somebody, right? We say I'm going to meet a person at a certain time, or I'm going to do something for someone else. It's important that we learn how to honor our integrity and our commitments with other people.
no matter what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I know we all made integrity mistakes in the past, but I think the more we learn how to honor and respect integrity, I think that's very important. And I think it's also very important to honor be in integrity with our own values. Because I think that's what's happened in the past couple of years, is a lot of people are not in integrity with their own values. Like, a lot of people, they go along just to get along. I don't know if that's your impression, but
Can you expand on that? What do you mean?
Go along to get along. Like, wear the mask because everybody's doing it.
Oh,
yeah.
To get along, we all need to do it together. Bullshit.
Oh yeah, I agree. That is my experience. People don't want to rock the boat,
Yeah.
and they don't want to have confrontation, or in their mind, what is a conversation? That's confrontation. If someone thinks it differently than them, then they don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you see something you don't agree with, and you have to put yourself out of integrity to go into a store, or to fly on a plane, I think it's one of these things where, we have to start saying, I don't agree with this. I think, I should be allowed to go on a plane without a mask, or without showing a vaccine card. Or
if they kick you off the plane.
Or if I want to go salsa dancing in Boston, because I was a part of the Boston salsa community for a long time, that, I should be allowed to go, without presenting a vaccine card. So one of the reasons I left Massachusetts was they were, at my favorite club, they started requiring everyone to present a vaccine card in order to enter. And I had a friend who told me, because you can get a fake vaccine card, right? It's actually not that hard to get one. But here's the thing. And my friend said he would sign it for me, even though he was one of those people who, believed in the vaccine and whatever. He said he'd sign it for me so I could go salsa dancing, right?
Is this a doctor?
No, he was not a doctor, but he said he would sign it, or he would forge it for me, or whatever. And I thought about this for a second. I said, do I really want to be in an environment with a bunch of people that think it's okay that just to go salsa dancing we have to present vaccine cards? Do I really want to put myself in that environment?
Great question.
And is this really the kind of friendship that I desire to have with somebody else?
Yeah.
So a person who thinks, it's okay to forge the card, to do that, like, that doesn't see a problem with the vaccine card, is willing to help me with it, but doesn't have the discernment to realize how out of alignment. This is with my values.
Yeah. So what did you decide?
I just didn't go.
Huh?
You know, I just didn't go. There was one night in Boston, there was a Boston salsa night I went to at another place. It wasn't my favorite club, but it was a different club. And we weren't, at the time, we didn't have to present, that they didn't require the vaccine cards. But there was one girl that asked me at that place if I had been vaccinated or not. And I realized at that moment that things were never going to be the same again. That I wasn't going to be able to stay in Massachusetts under this kind of frame. You know, that I wasn't going to be able to continue living there because of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
This my mindset. So it wasn't like you could just hide your ideology anymore. You couldn't just pretend.
The funny thing is, though, I feel like that's pretty much just gone away now. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
I think also a lot of the people that really care, that think they need to care, they assume that everybody got the vaccination, so they're not even worry anymore. But they know some people out there didn't, and that terrifies them.
Yeah. It's kind of like, for them, nothing has happened. You know, that's what's interesting about it is, for them, nothing has happened in all of this.
Yeah. Well, for some people, things have to get really, really, really weird before they start asking questions.
How does it get any weirder than this?
Oh no, he asked the question.
Yeah, well, I don't know how long what's it gonna take, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't either, but I'm sure we will observe some really more ridiculous things.
Well, maybe what they'll do next is maybe they'll ask everybody to wear a helmet.
Yes, yes. Helmets for everybody.
You never know, meteorites fall out of the sky all the time.
Yeah, I know, you know, a meteorite could strike you at any time, you know.
Or a satellite.
Or a satellite.
Parts of airplanes.
Parts of airplanes, you know. You know, that could happen, right?
Bird
You know,
poop.
bird poop.
Tree branches,
Tree
birds,
branches,
Ah.
birds.
pine cones.
You know.
Anything.
Yeah. And helmets protect.
Lightning.
Helmets protect you, right?
I don't know about lightning.
Helmets protect you from all this, so you know, if someone's out there who likes masks, well, you could also wear a helmet, you know, to, you know, make sure you're even more protected, you know.
Life vest.
Life vest. Helmets, life vest, and mask.
Yeah. Even if you're in the desert.
Even if you're in the desert, you know, there
You
might
never
be a
know.
flood, you know, so, you know, the life vest could protect you from the flood.
Or even on top of a mountain where there's not even a chance of a flood because it could rain really hard.
Yeah. Or there could be a big wind. So maybe people should have helmets, parachutes, and life vests and masks all the time.
Wait. Before we do that, we need to make sure we buy stock in it.
That's a very good idea.
Before we make it required for
Let's
everyone.
buy stock, and we'll start our own life vest company and helmet company.
So when the mask
And
thing was
then-
coming out, I was saying blindfolds. I said I was going to start investing in blindfolds because I figured blindfolds would be the next thing.
Yeah. Well, it could be helmets instead. You know, we might just
Well,
want to wear
Blindfolds are even stupider because then you can't see the bullshit, then you can't see the dangers, then you just are oblivious to it like the mask.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
Drive with your
if
blindfold on.
they get, yeah. So just yeah, it's exactly what Bill Gates did, right? Like, came up with the vaccine, so then he invested in vaccine companies.
That's what I think happened with the computers. You create the problem and you offer a solution. How the fuck does a computer get a virus without someone creating it?
Yeah.
Well, when Bayer bought Monsanto, they poisoned the food and then poisoned the people with the cure.
How is Bayer Pharmaceuticals, how are they even allowed to exist? I think that's a
They
like,
paid out,
question.
yeah, they make it so that they paid out enough money that they are still allowed to exist.
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah, I understand though, it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, but no. Let's stay on this topic. Bayer Pharmaceuticals. They, from my understanding, they participated in the Holocaust, if history is to be believed. They are somehow still a company. Like, how come there's never been any looking into this and digging into this? And how come people still trust Bayer?
because they don't do their research. Honestly, most
Yeah.
people just go through their lives. They, go to work, come home, turn on the TV, they watch the news, they believe everything they see.
They do what the
and
preacher tells them to do, they do what the doctor
they
tells
go,
them to do.
yeah, they don't think for themselves. They haven't been taught to do that, and so it's
Yeah.
just not something that they naturally do.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think a lot of the best teachers are on YouTube.
Yeah.
In other alternative platforms like, Odyssey, those kinds of platforms. A lot of the best teachers about things are on there. They're
We're on there, so yeah, definitely.
like they're
Nature
not.
is the best teacher.
Mhm.
They're not on. They're not necessarily in universities.
Yeah.
Although I don't always think that you can learn some things at university. So that is one point that I would like to make today. Like, one of the classes that I took when I was at university was called 20th Century Germany, and we read two books, two German literature books. One was called Tin Drum by Gunther Grass, and the other one, I can't remember the writer, but it was called Heroes Like Us, and it was about communism in East Germany. So that's one thing I learned about in college, was I learned about communism in East Germany. And in East Germany, basically what they had was they had they had the Stasi, which they were the East German secret police. And what they used to do is they used to have a file on everybody, and they would store the file in a government office, and they would keep that file in that office, and they would just collect information on everybody. And if they ever needed to smear someone or take someone out, they would go and they would take the Stasi file on them out, and they would pull it up. And I guess I was the type of person, I had to learn this the hard way, because I studied it in a book, but I didn't actually know practically what this meant. So I actually worked in a communist-run school in Vietnam, where they had the same practice, where people would follow you around with a pen all day long. They would take notes, and then they would put it in every teacher's file. So they wanted to create the culture of having a secret police, having the idea that people could not be trusted, and creating a culture of fear in the school and in the environment they were created. So they ruled things by fear. They used fear as their tool. And so when all this stuff in the past 3 years rolled out, I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what this is. So I have to be grateful, even though maybe my education wasn't perfect in certain ways. I'm grateful to the fact that, I had that opportunity to, study that in school. Another thing that I'm very grateful for in my education was I took an anthropology class when I was in college. And one of the things we often do is we often exoticize people that aren't like ourselves. So there's this practice of exoticizing the others, making them exotic to us, you know, as a way of kind of belittling them and criticizing them and that type of thing. So I actually had to take a news article and show how it was exoticizing other people. So I feel like I learned a kind of healthy distrust of the media by going to school in my undergraduate education.
Oh,
so maybe some schools didn't work out for some people, but in certain ways I learned how to be a digger, and I learned important lessons from it. So I think we always have to say, what am I grateful for, and what lessons did I learn from different experiences in my life?
I'm grateful that David always likes anything that I make him and eats it all.
Will you tell us about what you did today? The salad thing you made? What it had in it? We can't really show anymore because I already ate it.
I just made it simple. I made an arugula with
local arugula that we get from a local farmer.
Yeah, with some carrots we get at a local farmer, and cucumber and tomatoes, all at the local farmer's market, and then an avocado and some cold extracted olive oil and salt and pepper, and that's it.
Simple, satisfying. I love that arugula. That it just gives it that different kind of spice and flavor.
Yeah, it's good.
It's almost as good as mustard greens.
Yep.
Or maybe better. And the watermelon is amazing.
So what's something you like to talk about today?
Well, we're going to be making some more videos today on the breathing technique. The one that Kim was telling you about and showing you. Kim was kind of walking you through it. She got a whole nother level of understanding with it this morning when I guided her through it. So we want to film that guided, film me guiding her through this breathing practice that I've came up with. I studied a lot of different breathing practices, and then I started just doing it myself, and then I learned this technique. Like, I came up with this technique that uses the breath to stretch, and it takes the stretch to another level, and it's really amazing. So I wrote it up a few years ago, and I've been adding to it and fine-tuning it and putting it in my different books that I have available, and getting ready to take that to the next level. And then there's a bunch of words that people in the community of healing and breath work and manifestation and all these things that people use that are actually counterproductive. And as I've been studying a lot, I see that, and so I'm writing a course on abundance.
Oh yeah.
And it's abundance without the need to manifest. Because a lot of the manifestation lies out there, like The Secret, they helped me see this, but so I'm explaining that out. And a lot of it was going back to studying the Vedas and helping me understand the doubt and the contradiction in religions. And in finding that doubt and the contradiction in them helped me realize the truth of it all. And the truth of it all is that, well, you know, they're just words, so they're just words and labels, and that is still only limited. But the truth of it all is there's the absolute, let's call it, that people call God. I'm going to label it right now as the absolute. The absolute is all-knowing, all-powerful, is everywhere, is everything, created everything, created everyone, is the ruler and the destroyer, is just and merciful. And if the religion says anything different, then how could it be the truth?
Okay, can you give me an example
Simpleness
of
of
maybe one
truth.
religion that says something different from that? Like from Islam, Christianity? or-
All of the Islamic, Christianity, all of those Abrahamic religions, they all say, they all have that one God.
Yeah.
And it is provable through all of their scriptures that that God is not merciful or just.
Okay, can you give me an example of a specific scripture?
As I can't quote a certain scripture or so, but it goes back to the word enemy. If the word enemy is in the Bible, is in your holy book,
Yeah.
how does an all-wise, all-knowing, all-compassionate, all-loving, unconditional, loving, just, and merciful God create an enemy for us?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I think. A lot of people, they focus too much on like sometimes we do need to do confrontation if something is out of integrity, but I feel like a lot of people, they focus way too much on that. And I mean I have a strong warrior archetype, but I'm working on being more of a sage than a warrior. Like I'm working on being a retired warrior. You know, like you know, being
there's
more.
There's different versions of the warrior.
Yeah.
There is, like, I see it still as a warrior,
Yeah.
but it's not the warrior who's throwing the sword around. It's not the warrior who has enemies.
Yeah.
But an enemy is something separate than you. So let's say that you have an enemy and you pray to God that you are stronger than that enemy and strong enough to destroy that enemy on the battlefield. And now that enemy is praying that God destroys you as their enemy.
Yeah.
How is it just and merciful God that
Go ahead and figure
control
that
that?
one out.
Well, it's one of these
There
things
actually
where
are no enemies, because why would God create us an enemy?
Well-
It may create us situations that we can learn from.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that puts you in the frequency of wrath when you do that. You
Do
know,
what?
the frequency of wrath.
That when you have an enemy, and you're
when you
praying
focus
for-
on enemies and you focus
Yes.
on praying for them to be destroyed or well, whatever. So I think it's better to say, as much as maybe you dislike somebody or whatever, you know, I still wish them well.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so I think it comes
Yes.
back to the practice of wishing others well.
Well, because there are no others. If everyone understands there's only one, what you do to another, you just did to yourself. So
Yeah.
if you have enmity, if you have an enemy, then
Yeah.
you have yourself as an enemy.
Yeah, you're putting that energy to yourself.
Exactly.
So that's one key thing. And you know, when you show gratitude towards others, or you can release this like tension, you know, then you have less of that energy yourself.
Gratitude and
Yeah.
forgiveness, you don't have
Yeah.
enemies with gratitude and
Yeah.
forgiveness. With
Exactly.
oneness, gratitude, unconditional love,
Yeah.
you don't have any enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what is not the all? The all is those things, gratitude, unconditional
Yeah.
love, and everything. So, and like one of the verses in the Bible that was quoted to me by this man on the street, he said, "Hate your enemy." No, he said, "Hate evil." He said, "Hate evil," and I'm like, that's another contradiction. Like, wouldn't hating be evil? Wouldn't you be the evil if you're hating evil?
I think I can dislike evil but still love it
Mhm.
at the same time. I think that's the key thing to
Now, what would you
do.
be if you were hating it?
Yeah, you become the hate.
You
know,
become the evil,
yeah.
right? In becoming the hate, you would become the evil.
Yeah, I mean when you look at the character of Lord Vader in Star Wars, you know, that's exactly what happens, right?
Mhm.
Like he focuses so much on all these lower frequency things and hating that he becomes the hate himself.
Yeah.
You know, he becomes the very thing that he was supposedly fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the things we need to keep in mind as well, is that we don't want to become the very thing we do not wish to become, right?
And so I saw that theme in most religions between those main subjects. And it's contradiction. And
What?
then there's doubt also. If there's an all-controlling, all-knowing, all-perfect God that created all of this, then everything is perfect. If you wanted it to be different than it is, then you would be doubting what you just said about God being all perfect, all knowing, almighty controller.
Yeah.
If you wanted it to be any different and you were praying for it to be different, you're proving your doubt and asking the all-knowing creator to do a better job,
Well,
to do it different.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, for example, person who wants to better themselves or better their life. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for that. I mean, I think, it's a personal decision whether people wish to shift their reality or not, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, desiring to shift their reality. I'm not saying don't be grateful for what you have, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Anything anybody does and wants to do and says is fine, but there's a long way around, and the long way around is suffering. If you're trying to get across the water and you're rowing all day in your boat, when really it's just a puddle that you could step over, you're putting yourself in suffering by doing it the long way, and not the people can end up suffering by thinking it should be a different way and asking God to make it different instead of accepting the way it is and knowing that it will be different and that it will get better, because it's always changing and it's always shifting and it's gonna be better, and we're always moving up, and we are all always moving towards our highest healing. So we absolutely have all that we need, and we always will in every area. So the more we could just be right here, right now.
Yeah. Well, I think there's more to spirituality than just like the Eckhart Tolle approach. I think Eckhart Tolle in the present moment thing, I think that's valuable, but I don't think that's the only thing to spirituality. I think spirituality is a much more complicated topic than that, and there's many facets to it. So I think one of the things in spirituality is discernment, and that's one of the basics of spirituality. So I think it's knowing the difference between right and wrong, knowing the difference between good and evil, knowing the difference between false authorities and real ones, between false prophets and real ones, and knowing also that oftentimes evil manifests itself under the guise of good. So, with the COVID vaccine, it's like, we're doing this to protect you. That's what they're saying. We're doing this to protect you. So I think that's one of the things to know about it as well, is that there's discernment, I think, is a very valuable thing. And I also think prayer is a very valuable thing, like putting good intentions out to the universe. I think that's very, very powerful. I mean, one of the prayers I said at a ceremony, someone actually contacted me yesterday from the ceremony, and they said that they felt the power of my prayer at the ceremony. And it was because, it was a ceremony that wasn't going well. For the entire ceremony was just falling apart. And so I sent some prayers to try to help the energy of it a little bit.
Well, now, you sent prayers?
Yeah.
Or you're using that as a label. You sent intentions?
Well, I sent intentions, prayers, intentions, saying...
No, it's not the same. Intentions and prayers are different.
How so?
An intention is an intention, and a prayer is a prayer, right?
Yeah,
A
how
prayer-
do you define intention? How do you define prayer?
A prayer is like asking God for something,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
An intention is to direct something, to direct yourself in a way,
yeah.
to direct my intention is to pick this up and to drink it.
Yeah,
My prayer is, oh God, will you please pour this down my throat?
yeah. Well,
Right? So my intention is to pick it up and to do something with it. And my prayer is to ask that
God do something.
God do that
for you.
me.
yeah. Well, I think, you know, prayer can be intention. You know, so that's my personal opinion. I mean, you're welcome
What do you
to.
see as a intention?
You're welcome to disagree with me, but I think prayer can be an intention, and I think prayer is important, and I think prayer is very powerful. And you know, I pray for a lot of people a lot. You know, people ask me for prayers, and I send them prayers, and you know, sometimes people pray for me. So, you know, I think prayer is powerful, and I think prayer is important. There's actually a book called The Power of Eight. When I was in California with one of my friends.
So you mean, I'm trying to just understand you.
Yeah.
Prayer, is that definition the same as the definition that I was saying? What do you mean by what you
God,
were saying that
you're-
you mean by prayer, that you say prayer is important? Do you mean like, do you have the same definition of prayer as that I do? Or do you have a different
I'm not
definition
sure.
that you would like to express?
I don't know if I entirely agree with you or
I mean, like,
entirely agree with you.
Can you express your definition of prayer so I can understand what you
prayer is
what
just
you mean?
basically sending good energy to somebody else. That's just how I define prayer.
Okay.
You know, that's how I define it. Like, I send good energy to someone else. You
To
know?
me, that's different. That is sending good energy to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing something. You're not asking God or something outside of you because you are God.
Yeah.
So if you're saying that there's something outside of me that can do something that I can't, to me, that's what most people think of as prayer. Like somebody else, God, do this, please, for this person or whatever it is. But when we're sending good energy, that's because God is in us. So when we are directing energy, that is God. That is prayer in action, right? That is, or whatever, your intention coming to manifest. But if we think that someone outside of us is doing something, or that there's a man, you know, up there looking down on us saying,
A solemn request
Alright.
for help or expression of thanks to God or an object of worship. An earnest hope or a wish.
a wish is something that you hope. Well, I've really learned this. A wish is different than a belief. Like, I believe that Yeshua was a master healer because he didn't wish things would happen. He knew he was God in physically incarnated, like we all are.
A
Right?
wish is the opportunity that it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And he knew that with such conviction that he was able to, you know, do all these miracles and stuff because he just had that perfect connection with his high self, God, source, creator, the absolute, whatever it is. And most of us lack that. And we're seeking something outside of us for creation. And we don't have that strong conviction. We just have this like, I hope God will do it. You know?
Yeah, and that's like we have to have belief, and you know, then go from belief into knowing.
Yeah.
And so the way I think about spirituality too is I think about it through a very Star Wars type frame. Like, you know, like the Force is basically all things, right?
Yeah.
So like we're basically connected to all things.
All of
So
them.
so that's how I look at it. That's how I look at this. Like, I think that's what the Law of One is, you know, basically like Star Wars. You know, that's, I think, the easiest way for most people to understand this. And I mean, like, kind of the way they do in the original Star Wars movies. I don't really like the new ones quite as much. The original three, I think, were the best. But I think those give people really a lot of the building blocks they really need. Because there's also, like, faith, right? Faith and belief are part of spirituality. So when we look at something like, you know, Han Solo's going into the asteroid field, right? I don't know if you've seen that scene before.
I am sure I have, but
like, you know, basically the Millennium Falcon is being chased by the entire Imperial fleet.
Yeah. And
they're unable to get into light speed. And so it enters an asteroid field. And this robot is saying, like, oh, the chances of, like, surviving the asteroid field are like 1 in 10 million or whatever it is. And Han Solo says, no, I don't, be quiet. You know, like, he has faith in himself. He has faith in his ability to pilot the ship through the asteroid field. It doesn't matter what the odds are. What matters is the belief in himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is important. I think that belief and faith are totally different.
Belief, faith, hope.
Yeah. But I mean, no, it all comes. Belief, faith, and hope are. There's doubt, like David says, in all of those, and you really have to come to from a place of knowing for anything to happen.
Yeah, I think, like, hope, there's some doubt involved with hope.
Yes.
I don't.
Same with the wish, right?
I mean, I don't. I'm not just saying to discourage hope, because I think people have to have hope, right? Without hope, you know, if someone doesn't have hope, they give up, right? So, you know, hope is something that inspires people to keep going. But I also think there's some doubt associated with hope as well.
So I've broken into doubt really good and seen that when I was in my studies. I opened up doubt and saw the truth of it like that, where hope has some doubt in it. So, you know, what we believe and what we were taught and what we saw and what it looks like is that hope is good for people. But then that's also saying that doubt is good for people. And so really it's even deeper and past hope.
Yeah.
It's the knowing that is the truth, because with the knowing there is no doubt. Even in belief there's some doubt.
Yeah.
The belief has doubt in it.
Yeah.
And even prayer has doubt.
Well, but I
and
think
so the
to
doubt
say,
is what blocks people from really receiving the abundance that's there for them.
Yeah, but I think to say, this is my personal opinion, but I think to say hope is doubt is a little bit overly simplistic, because I think when people have hope, they have a reason to get up in the morning. You know, they have a reason to like go to work. So I think to say hope is doubt is a little bit simplistic. Maybe there's a little bit of doubt involved in hope, but I think, you know, for people having hope, that keeps them going.
Maybe it's not the word hope is what you're using, but maybe it's vision, maybe it's volition.
Yeah.
Volition.
Vision, having
There's
a
another
vision.
one too that's volition or something like that.
I really like the vision.
Having the vision, we're using the word hope, but we could also use the word vision, and then there's not the doubt in the vision. So if people have hope but vision instead, when they wake up, it helps them get up in the morning if they have vision.
Yeah.
If they have a vision, a true vision of what they want to do and what they're going to do, it helps them get up in the morning. Yes, hope does also, but hope does have an underlying doubt within it.
Yeah.
And so we've been taught all these words in all these ways, and redefining them and understanding them, and understanding the black magic that was put in them for us to use from the religion, and utilizing them differently by saying vision instead of hope. You're expressing, I'm understanding what you're expressing with the word vision is what you're saying. You're just using the word hope, and then that shows that there could be some doubt in there, and it's not quite the best for people to wake up in the morning with doubt. It's better for them to have the vision clear of doubt and know that today's going to be a good day. Instead of hoping that it's going to be a good day, knowing that they have that power to make it a good day.
Well,
with the vision.
maybe this word hope has been tainted by a lot of people have been given false hope. You know, maybe that's part of this too, is that a lot of people have been given false hope by false authorities, right? So maybe that's part of the reason
I think
that this conversation is occurring, because sometimes, you know, the false authorities use false hopes in order to control people.
You want the definition?
Yes.
Want something to happen or to be the case. It's a want. A want is a doubt also. A feeling of expectation or desire for a certain thing to happen. A feeling of trust.
Well, we use feeling of trust, right?
Yeah, so that version,
you use, so that's the thing, is a lot of words, they have more than one definition. So I see what you're saying here, because they have multiple definitions. And yeah, want, when we talk about the word want, you know, like, I prefer the word, when I use want as a verb, I prefer to use the word desire rather than want, because, you know, like,
desire is in the definition of want. I have the whole list right there on my course that I'm writing up. So it is.
Yeah.
But that is a good word.
But I would encourage people to use the word desire instead of want, because, you know, when we look at the word want, you know, want can also be used as a noun. And, you know, want as a noun means a lack of something. When we're looking in the word want as a noun, it means a lack of something. So I always, I hear people use the word want as a verb. Whenever I want to use that kind of thing, I always say the word I desire instead of want. Because, you know, I want for nothing, right? Then you're in the frequency, you're no longer in the frequency of lack. When you say I want for nothing, you know, you're not, you know, in a frequency of lack. So something. So I think that's a very intentional choice that people can make, shifting, you know, their use of want to the use of desire. And it's interesting because.
But would you say the definition of desire is want? Desiring for something is the same definition as desire. So desiring is wanting.
But the thing is, I think maybe you were taking this too far, because, you know, I think a lot of people, maybe they're not there yet. And I think we look at want as a polysemous word, which polysemous, it means it has more than one definition. It's a word that has multiple meanings to it. And, you know, we can look up desire, but, you know, desire doesn't have lack. You know, a desire doesn't have the word lack of associated with it. You know, a want of
desiring something is wanting something that you don't have. So there is lack because you don't have what you're desiring. You're desiring something that you don't have in your hands.
But that's your opinion. That's not my opinion. So I'm welcome.
Why would you? What would you desire? You would desire something that you didn't have, correct?
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with.
There's no right or wrong.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that that's what you're saying, though. Like a desire is. Why would you desire for something? Because you didn't have it, correct?
Well, that's not the way I look at it. I think we have to be careful what we project onto people. We have to be extremely careful on our use of language, and we have to be extremely careful on the use of conscious language. So I don't associate desiring something with lack consciousness. Maybe that's something other people associate with, but I don't possess that. So I think that's a choice to put yourself in lack consciousness or not to put yourself in lack consciousness. But the word want means lack, and you know, so that means lack as a noun. When you use the word desire, you're putting yourself in a higher vibration than when you're using the word want.
What does desire mean to you?
Desiring just means like, oh, it would be really nice if this happened. You know, like,
That sounds like not a knowing.
well, it's
If?
not like, you know, it would be really nice to have this thing to happen. So like, Beth Martins up in Canada uses this term. Oh, it would be really nice. You know, not like I need it, but it would be really nice. You know, so not feeling like you're in lack, but yeah, it would be very nice for this to happen.
And then, if for whatever reason, I mean, who knows, that it doesn't happen, how is she going to feel?
Well, that's your own personal responsibility, right? Everyone's responsible for their own emotions, and you know, you're responsible for taking care of your own emotions. Because I think people need to have aspirations, you know, because you know, like, it's important for people to aspire for something in life, you know. So to aspire to have a family, or to have to aspire to have a family, because, you know, there are a lot of people out there that, you know, they don't aspire for anything, and I don't see them leading the kind of life that I would like to lead.
But that's theirs. Like, if God is perfect and everyone is having the experience that they're meant to, that's just comparing. And whenever we put ourselves into a comparison mode, or you know, then comparison is the thief of joy. It really is.
Yeah.
Whenever I compare myself to what someone else has, that has maybe from a perspective of, oh, they have more or whatever, then that can put me in a state of not feeling lack immediately. Whenever gratitude is the only thing that can prevent us from feeling that lack. And not comparing, just being grateful.
Yeah. Well, I think the only comparison to make is where I am today better than yesterday. So that's the only comparison to make. You know, you compare yourself to, okay, am I more grateful than I was yesterday? You know, that's have I done more have I been putting in the inner work? That's where the comparison takes place.
But you're still comparing yourself to a person that's not even you anymore, and you of course already are those things. So it's the question that needs that. Yeah.
Well, I quite frankly, can I be honest?
No, you cannot be honest. You must lie.
I completely disagree with you. I think I have a different understanding of this, and a different understanding of this than you do, and you're free to follow your own way, and I welcome the opportunity to be here to discuss and sharpen my ideas, but I agree to disagree with you on this. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, today I'm doing better than yesterday, or today I'm doing great. I'm more grateful than I was yesterday. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, but you said it differently. You were asking, you were questioning yourself if you are greater than yesterday. And then there's a bit of a comparison there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying there is a bit of comparison there of, am I better than I was yesterday? There's doubt and there's comparison. Of course you're better than you were yesterday.
How is there doubt?
Because you're asking yourself a question.
Is there something wrong with asking yourself a question? You know, how is that doubt to ask yourself a question?
You don't know that you are, because not saying you, but the person saying that how am I better than I was yesterday is saying that they're not better than they were. There's a chance that they could not be better than they were yesterday.
So you're just
assuming from every day that we make it to the next level. Every day that we wake is another day, is a better day, is the next step. Is the next step in our evolution. Is the next movement is the next step. We are not that anymore. We are not that steps that we left behind the day before. So I'm just saying that there's not quite a need to compare.
Okay, well that's your decision, but
Yeah, for sure.
I think asking these questions and examining these questions is important. And I agree with you to a certain extent, because I think sometimes when I do shadow work, right? Now, because I do a lot of shadow work where I go back in the shadows and I fix things and I show gratitude, whatever. But once I've examined that shadow, I don't want to be dragged back into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I want to move beyond that shadow, right? And I want to say, at some point I have to say, well, that's the past, that's over, that's no longer who I am, and I'm moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you have to find a way to heal that wound in the past, and at some point you have to decide that that wound is healed and you're moving forward with your life. So I think that's one thing I have to be very careful of as a healer, is when I work with a client, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say to my client, and I try to perceive with my clients whether something needs to go, we need to go dig into a particular shadow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that, you know, I always have to go back into the same shadow that I did before. You know, I think at some point we have to decide that that's healed and I'm moving forward with my life. I'm moving to the present moment and I'm going to focus on the present. I'm going to maybe think about the future, but I'm not going to go back into the past. You know, sometimes we have to go back and dig into something in the past. We have to heal it, and then we have to move forward.
Yeah.
I understand your belief in that. One of the cool words I ran into, I was trying to pull up, is volition. The facility or power of using one's will. That is very powerful. That is beyond hope. That is beyond doubt. That is beyond
just the
prayer.
action. Yeah. It was like yesterday. Yesterday, somebody put me into a prayer group, and they were saying, "Please pray for this man. He has Parkinson's." Me praying for him isn't gonna do a damn thing. He has to fast and fix his fucking issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind sending good energy to somebody and praying for somebody that has Parkinson's, but I agree with you that people need to take more responsibility. Yeah.
And his body goes through the process of cleaning up those negative cells and quits putting shit into his body. He will no longer have Parkinson's. Me just saying, "God, please help this man with Parkinson's," isn't going to do a fucking thing.
Okay. Well, that's your choice, right? I don't personally. This is just a disagreement we have, and I'm fine with having this disagreement with you, but I would still be willing to pray for them personally.
Why? What are they going to do?
Well, I think good intentions help, and your intentions help, but ultimately, that other person has to be open to receiving the prayer.
And what if they're not?
And helping themselves. If they're not open, it's not going to work.
Most people,
that's the problem with some people, is they can't take responsibility for their own lives and to do the healing necessary.
Exactly. It stems down to this to me. It's everyone, all this Christianity, they have been taught to give up their power and, oh, Jesus is going to come save us. And I opened up an email from someone. They sent me a thing that was in Mount Shasta, this new agey thing where all these, people who communicate with ETs, whatever, we're going to be there. And I had this understanding. It's the same thing on both ends. they are appealing to either the Christian who's still stuck in those beliefs, saying someone is going to come and save you. You don't have to do anything, or the new agey people. Oh, these higher beings, they're going to come and save you. You don't have to do anything. It's the non-volition. It's the not taking action. It's the not stepping into your power. It's the, oh, someone else is going to come save me. Pray for me. Pray for me. Someone's going to come and save me. It's bullshit.
Well, I think this is the thing, is that, oftentimes, have you ever heard the story of like God in the lifeboat before? Have you heard this story?
I don't think so.
So someone prays for God to help them, and a lifeboat comes.
There's a big flood.
And they say,
I heard it from the preacher.
and they
Yeah,
say,
we know exactly.
they say, oh, here's a lifeboat for you. Are you going to get in? No. Okay.
God's coming to save me. I'm praying.
And so that's the thing, is that you can pray for somebody,
and
but
in this prayer circle here, I answered their prayer. I gave them all this research. I looked it up. I googled it, and I said, look, fasting helps Parkinson's. I sent them this thing because most everything that people get is from the toxic stuff they're putting into their body temples.
Yeah.
All these ailments can be easily fixed with fasting.
So it's the water, it's the food.
Mostly, yes.
It's the food.
Alcohol, soda pop, all this shit.
Also pollution from the air pollution as well.
Yeah, but fasting, and that's, David and I fast once a week.
Yeah.
Even though we only eat raw, we're not putting toxic shit into our bodies, we still take that time to give our body system rest so that it can go and heal the cells for anything that we do pick up.
Yeah.
The synonyms of volition are choice, autonomy, will, free will, accord, option, self-determination, and preference.
Yeah, I think prayer is still giving your power away to something outside of yourself when God is in you.
I don't know. I disagree.
Most
however,
everyone else on here will disagree too, and I don't.
I disagree, but I will say this, is that I do think God helps people that help themselves.
Because they are God.
Take personal responsibility
Yes.
for their own lives.
God is just and all merciful, so he just helps everybody. She just helps everybody no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether you ask for it or not, she's the unconditionally loving mother that helps everybody no matter what.
Yeah.
Not just rewarding those who give her milk and honey. It's just she created anyways.
Yeah. So I personally, I personally like prayers. I like praying for people, but ultimately, for a person to heal, they have to take responsibility for their own healing. So like I have clients, and I'll tell them to do gratitude journaling. To learn how to practice being grateful for things, doing gratitude meditations to practice being grateful for things. And ultimately, if a client if I send them a meditation to help them change their mindset, and they don't choose to change their mindset, that is on them.
And is God going to help them still because you were praying for them, even though they're not
I don't think it can hurt them, but yeah.
Okay, but I'm not saying it's going to hurt, but the energy, if the person themselves isn't taking responsibility, then nothing is going to
well, eventually, there is a point where I say, if this person can't take action, I don't bother anymore. I have to see action. I think it's like a bridge, right? I'm giving them a bridge. Are you going to cross the bridge, or are you not going to cross the bridge?
Yeah.
Getting it out of the sun. Doing it over.
I think people do need to take the responsibility for crossing their own bridge. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on this chat, they were talking about going, oh, they need to go to this medical center. You know, we all know what the medical center is like. And pray for them. What is that going to do? If this person who has Parkinson's takes responsibility, realizes they need to heal, you know, they can heal themselves. We all have the ability to heal ourselves. And it's free. It's called fasting.
Yeah, I know.
There's no one needs to go pray to God. They just need to
Like, how about
do
giving
the work.
How about giving people a simple step? And I've said this already. Put away the potato chips. Put away the Diet Coke. Take away the coffee. Take away the alcohol.
The first step is detox your input.
Yeah, like just stop putting toxic substances into your body.
Stop drinking and eating the poison.
Yeah, I mean it's so.
Wow.
Can I talk for a few minutes about
It's
things
so
that people
simple.
don't learn in school?
Yes.
Okay, so I've thought about this, things people don't learn in school. Okay, so I had a list of 4, but one thing people don't learn in school is how to eat properly. You know,
Yeah.
why can't schools teach people how to eat properly? You know, that's one of the most basic things.
Who sponsors the school?
The schools were sponsored by Rockefeller, if you like start really looking into it, who is one of the
Yeah.
parasites who wants to control humanity.
And so learn how to eat, okay? Learn how to eat. That's the first thing. So
And humanity, there's so much disinformation on eating.
yeah.
You can find, I don't care what it is, you can find whatever you want to believe, you can find evidence to support it out there.
Yeah.
In this information age, if you want to think that, you know what, I don't believe an alkaline diet is for the highest good of humanity, you can find someone who's going to say, yeah, no, don't do alkaline diet. Or you can find someone who's going to say, yes, an alkaline diet is the best for humanity. So, you know, really, it comes down to people seeing where we are right now. Where are we with humanity and how healthy is humanity and what they've been doing? Is it working? No.
No,
Obviously it's not.
but the thing is, like, people need to open their eyes and they need to take a look at it. You know, people need to look at themselves in the mirror and ask, is what I'm doing working or not? You know?
What I've noticed is most people, because everyone else is doing it, then it's kind of like the mask thing. Well, everyone else is doing it. Well, this is just how it is. Our bodies break down as they get older because everyone else is doing it. And that's how they think. That's
Well,
what they
I
think.
think it all comes back to, if you want to live a long life, it's perfectly possible. That's the way I see it. If you desire, not want, correction.
If you have volition.
Yeah, if you have volition,
If you
whatever.
know.
If you know.
That's the cleanest one. If you
Okay.
know.
So anyway, I want to get on to my second thing that people don't learn in school.
Yes.
People don't learn in school how to meditate. You know, so why isn't meditation taught in schools?
Well, what is the definition of meditation? Where did the first word of definition come from?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Meditation is not in Buddhism. It's not in
Yeah.
the original 5 Nikayas of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And meditation is not in the Vedas either.
It's not in the Vedas.
No, there's not a word meditation in the Vedas.
Interesting.
But it's a newer word actually that refers to what? What would you say meditation refers to?
I would say it refers to mindfulness.
Mindfulness?
Yeah, mindfulness.
No,
Great
so
mindfulness. Yeah.
I don't necessarily utilize the word meditation. I utilize the word mindfulness because
Yeah.
it's more explaining to what you're actually talking about. So
Yeah.
I'm learning to take out the word meditation,
Yeah.
and I don't meditate. I practice mindfulness, but
Yeah.
I don't meditate.
From what I understood, because I went to a 7-day silent meditation, or 10-day silent meditation retreat, Vipassana. And you were just supposed to observe and quiet, you know, most people say, oh, you're supposed to have no thoughts. It's impossible to have no thoughts ever. You can observe the thoughts that you have, but it's quite impossible to stop thinking completely. So meditation is ridiculous if it means don't have any thoughts, because that's
Oh, so that's your opinion on it.
that was what I was taught.
The definition
Yeah.
is the action or practice of meditating.
Wow. Wow. Don't you think they would use a different word other than that?
No,
You
that's
know,
the funny
like,
thing.
that's the most ridiculous thing I've
To
heard
think, meditating, to think deeply, yeah, dictionaries are ridiculous. To think deeply or focus one's mind
Yeah.
for a period of time in silence with the aid of chanting for religious or spiritual purposes as a method of relaxating. To think deeply or carefully about something.
Yeah.
To plan mentally, to consider.
Yeah. So yeah, they don't. Yeah. So that's one thing. Is anyway, schools don't teach any of this.
Yeah, nothing like that, yeah.
That's my point.
Yes, I understand. Thank
you
you.
know,
Thank you for your patience, because you go to discuss something and then we start going off.
yeah.
And you're very patient and very compassionate with the conversation. You
Yeah.
know how to have a conversation. You're not turning it into an argument.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a debate here and there.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's very
Yeah,
beautiful,
we need
and I
to,
appreciate that.
And we need to learn how to have these debates. You know,
Yes, that's another
ultimately,
thing.
you know, that's what we need to learn to do. And sometimes it's very hard, right? If I'm talking to somebody who's a disciple of Dr. Fauci, it's very hard for me to talk to them. I'll be very honest about that.
Because they
Yeah.
believe that they are their beliefs.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk to some Christians because
Yeah.
they believe their beliefs. So
Yeah.
so when you contradict their belief, they think that you're attacking them. When
Yeah,
you attack their
and
belief,
so what-
they think you're attacking them personally.
And so what if you don't have the same agreement with me on what the difference, want and a desire is? I mean, I don't care, right? It doesn't matter, right?
Uh-huh.
But like a lot of times, if the other person thinks, okay, I have to think exactly the same way David does, right? So, or if we had a third person here,
I don't
and
expect that.
and they said, you have to believe the same way as I do.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Christians in the
That's
Bible.
church. That's going to church. That's what they taught me in church. You need to just shut up and believe. Have faith.
Yeah, you just have to believe, and there's belief in yourself, belief in all this stuff. But I remember going to a Bible study. Have you ever been to a Bible study before?
Yeah, I used to go to Sunday school. I used to go to a lot of Bible studies.
Yeah.
20 years of that stuff.
Yeah. So I went to a Bible study, and they're like, everything's in the Bible. And I was thinking in my head, there have been millions of books written, right?
They couldn't fit in the Bible?
Yeah. How is it possible to say everything's in the Bible? How is that possible? I mean, they had meetings to say, oh, this book is in the Bible, but this book isn't in the Bible. Or this gospel is in the Bible, but this gospel isn't in the Bible. How is it possible to say that everything's in the Bible? But they...
It's a fallacy.
But I don't... The thing is, the difference between me and a lot of Christians is I don't go door knocking. I don't go knocking on...
That's what happened right before you showed up, right?
Yeah, it's
That's what
interesting
that
that we're
was?
having this conversation because as I was walking in, two people were talking to Kimberly, and apparently they were Christians trying to convert people to their way of belief.
Yeah, they were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Kim's like, I don't need a book.
Yeah,
I know
told them-
God. I know everything.
I told them that God is everything, and they said, "Oh yeah, God is in the tree." I said, "Yes, todos es Dios, so no necesito un libro." I don't need a book to tell me that everything is God and the all is the all, y'all.
Keep moving it out of the sun.
And I gave them a hug, and their merry way. But I don't know if they were that merry. I'm not so sure.
So there's one more thing that I thought about this that's not taught in schools, that should be taught in schools,
Yes.
is how to make money. Like children need
Like the mint does?
Yeah, maybe like the Mint does. Why not?
We might as well all be printing it,
We
right?
might as well all be printing it. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, I don't see why Monopoly shouldn't be. Why can't I go to a store and use Monopoly money? You know, I should be able to do that. You know.
That's what I used to do as gifts. I had a Monopoly game, and it lost in pieces, was destroyed.
Yeah.
So I started. It was a Simpsons Monopoly game.
Yeah.
And so I would like randomly just give people like hundreds of Simpsons Monopoly dollars.
Yeah.
I got this for you, man.
Well, who knows? With the way they're printing money out in the United States, you know, Monopoly money might be more valuable than American dollars pretty soon. So I would.
Probably. Actually, there probably is Monopoly. There's certain Monopoly games that are collector editions because they only made a few a certain year or something.
But the thing is, there does have to be enough currency in circulation for it to be a financially sustainable system, right? It has to be like, you know, a medium of exchange. Like part of the value of money is it has to be used as a medium of exchange. That's part of what money is. It's a medium of exchange. So there's three different parts to money. It has to be a store of value, okay? So it has to be inherently valuable. Yeah, so that's, and the second part is it has to be used as a medium of exchange so that when I go to the store, someone will accept it, right? And then there's the third thing, which is called the fungibility. And what fungibility is fungibility is, you know, if I give you $1, it has to say you're just as likely to accept that dollar as a dollar you are given to you by him. So this is actually the problem with Bitcoin right now, is Bitcoin actually isn't technically fungible because Bitcoin can be tracked. You know, they can actually hire certain firms to track Bitcoin and Bitcoin transactions. So if, like, let's say there was some transaction between someone that was doing something kind of illicit, what would happen in this is they could go back to the transaction and someone might be less likely to accept certain Bitcoin for that reason.
So don't try buy drugs on the internet, kids, with Bitcoin.
No, if you're going to do that, it's better to use Monero than Bitcoin. So that's just another subject that's on in schools, the subject of money, and this subject of finance is that kids should learn about finance. You know, it should be like when you're like 30 years old, you go listen to Robert Kiyosaki talk about finance. It should be like a subject that's taught in schools so that people.
Is that Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, I read that book, and that book I should have read when I was 20.
Yeah.
It should be common knowledge. I should have learned how that thing worked. Then things would be different. But if it could have happened any other way, it would have.
Yeah. But yeah, like I was talking to someone at a bar yesterday, and like they said a 5th grader can read that book. You know, that book is written easily enough that someone in 5th grade can read that book. So
imagine a 6th grader having that information, what they could do by the time they graduate.
Yeah, I know. they like, and I remember, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dostoevsky, the book Crime and Punishment.
Yeah, I've like seen it. I don't think I've read it or know.
Yeah,
much
it's
about
just
it.
like 500-page book, you know, and I just remember it not being fun to read at all. And I'm like, maybe instead of reading that book, I should have read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Like maybe we could have taken a day off in AP English to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, you're like with
instead
how
of
smart.
Crime and Punishment, like jeez, that's good manifestation.
Yeah, maybe we could have taken a day off and just been like, okay, let's take a day off from having to read hard books and let's read an easy book about something important. So yeah, but anyway, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about, or?
I don't know.
I think there was one more I had, but I can't remember.
So with the religious insisting, putting in doubt on purpose for the people, putting it so that the people had to go to the church to get their answers prayer, that the people had to go put money on the altar or had to put milk on the altar to have their beliefs. They believe, like in India tradition, they believe that Ganesh is the remover of all obstacles. There's a god out there that removes all obstacles. So I forgot what day it was a week, but each god has a day of the week. So let's say it was Monday, they would go and pray to Ganesh and say, Ganesh, please remove my obstacles. But what I saw that was being doubt. Because if Ganesh is the remover of obstacles, then he removes the obstacles. Now you're asking Ganesh to do something that he already does. He's already done it. He already does that. So making a special offering, you have to give this much money, you have to do a flower, you have to burn incense, you have to pour coconut to ask Ganesh to remove your obstacles. But Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. So you're doubting that he's doing it for you. You're doubting in your God. It's a contradiction.
And the best movie ever to show everybody how ridiculous it all is the movie PK.
Yeah.
PK.
It's a Bollywood movie from India called PK.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Netflix.
Yeah, we should watch it with you sometime, Rex.
Sure. I don't watch many movies. I only watch
subtitles,
Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Lion King.
Well, this one is
The Lion King. So if I watch a movie, it had better be good.
It's good, Rex.
Yeah, it had better be one of the best movies ever. Because
We're the same way. That's how we do it nowadays.
the way I look at it, maybe this is a limiting belief, but most
dessert.
it seems like
Yes.
it seems like a
Yeah.
good movie only comes out every 10 years, And I can't even remember the last time a good movie came out. Do you remember last time? Was there a good movie in the past 5 years?
Not at all. Maybe even in the past 20 years, it seems like. But yeah, here and there. Oh, we did see one. They came out in the last 5 years. It's called Everything, Everywhere, All the Time, or something like that, and it was super amazing. But on the line of where I was going with the Ganesh and the hope was that, in the same sentence of saying that, our God is all powerful, all knowing, all guiding, please give me what I deserve. We are all getting what we deserve. We are all going to have exactly what we're meant to have. We have more than we need, and we always will. So right now in this moment, I have everything I need. And tomorrow in that moment, I will have everything that I need. Even if today it doesn't look like I have what I need for tomorrow, but every moment I have all that I need, and I always will. And that knowing is super freeing. I don't have to spend the extra work to say, I don't have to go to the temple and say, oh God, please bring me a brownie dessert. I don't have to say, I'm gonna sit here and meditate and manifest a dessert brownie. I know I am worthy of it, and if I'm meant to have a brownie dessert, then I'm gonna have one. Boom.
Oh my God, look at, you're such a master.
And I didn't need to manifest it. It was what I needed. And if it wasn't what I needed, then I wouldn't have it. If I don't have this tomorrow, then I didn't need it tomorrow. If I had this tomorrow, then I needed it. I believe that we have absolutely everything that we need
In each moment.
in the moment, and that we always will.
And that belief transcends, it's the complete trust in the divine plan.
No
It's
doubt.
knowing that everything is happening for our highest good at all times, and we don't have to shift it, we don't have to do
Pour
different.
milk over the lithium. We don't have to stand on one leg for 50 years.
We don't have to do anything but just, I mean, we still have to take the action that we're inspired to by God. Like, I'll give you an example. Every morning I sit on the roof and I'll write a question. Okay, what action do I need to take today for the highest good of all to move whatever forward? And I will get downloads. Like, do this, do this, do this. I still have to take the action for things to move forward. But that's divine and perfect too. Like, that's, I'm not having to manifest anything that David and I, someone asked us one time that came over here, they'd heard David play his flute, and they asked him, are you in a band? And we said, no. Like, we never thought of a band. We didn't manifest a band. A band fell into our laps. Well, now we're in a band.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go, well, we really want to be in a band. It just came and fell into our laps. Like, if it's meant for you on your path, it will be for you on your path.
Because if it could have happened any other way, it would have.
Yeah, like everything we're learning in each moment, and then we get in from my experience. I've gotten in all these, listen to other teachers and things about manifesting all this stuff, and anytime I do, I start feeling in this lack mode, like, oh God, I should have more than I have. Why? Because some teacher I'm listening to is telling me how to manifest, and I'm thinking that I need more than I have.
Or you're thinking that you're
now.
manifesting wrong, and then it's not all complete and perfect, that it's not God's divine plan, that you have exactly what you need right now. It's your fault for not seeing it.
I mean, we still have free will, of course. I don't believe that, we are automatons, but from my experience as well, I have seen things shift where that was not my path. Like, I'll give you an example. I had someone that I had been dating, and I really cared for this person. And this other person came into, like, so many times things have shifted to where I didn't go do something else because that was not meant for me to do. And, like, people would come and it was like this block, like, no, you are not. I mean, we still have free will, right? We can fuck things up. But I have seen the divine plan it work, and it's when we just trust, it's amazing.
Absolutely everything that happened to me in my entire life brought me here to this moment right now. Knowing what I know, being who I am, every scar, everything was exactly what I needed to be me now. And I accept that it was all exactly what I needed, and I accept that if it could have been any other way, then it would have.
Yes. And
that's
I
freeing.
agree.
It's super freeing.
It's freeing because then you're not sitting there regretting the past.
So how does,
and you're not anxious
I-
about the future.
I think the important thing is here, like, how do your listeners get to that point?
Trust.
Yeah,
Release
but-
control.
But how
know?
do they do that from a practical perspective?
I
How
had to
can they
say-
do that from, a sense that's practical of actually doing that? Because it's fine to say trust, right?
Okay,
it's fine
gratitude for what is first.
It's fine to say release, but I think a lot of times it's like in school, right?
Yeah.
There's a theory and a practice. So
Yes,
what
okay.
practical steps can they take to do that?
I
First,
have a practice that I do,
yes.
and any time that it doesn't seem all whole, complete, and perfect, I have 2 mantras for it. And I say the mantras over and over again. If I feel like I don't have enough, or I need something, or I'm missing something, or I'm lacking something, I say, we have more than we need, and we always will. Or we have more than we need, and we always will. We have more than we need, and we always will. We have more than we need, and we always will. And that one, I had to do that one thousands of times to get here where I'm at. And then also It's all whole, complete, and perfect.
And-
It's all whole, complete, and perfect. It's all whole, complete, and
Mine,
perfect.
one of mine is, I'm in divine guidance. I'm always at the right place at the right time. I am in divine guidance. I'm always at the right place at the right time. And anytime you feel like it's not, you're in a traffic jam or something, I have noticed now in my life, the more and I don't know if it's just I'm more aware of it now, but like we went to the grocery store. We had a backpack because that's how we take our groceries home. No one ever said anything to us except this one day. They're like, oh, you can't take that backpack in. So David's like, we're kind of like, well, we've always taken it in. It kind of annoyed us at first. It was just an annoyance, like whatever, like, oh, God. And then we ended up, because they did that, the way David had to go to check our backpack in so we could go shopping, we met two of our friends that we hadn't seen. Like, so we realized after
We
the
wouldn't
backpack,
have gone
we
that
wouldn't
way
have
if it
seen
wasn't
them.
done that way.
Yeah.
It was exactly
What
perfect.
needed to yeah,
And we've walked down and turned a corner. We've decided, now, wait, let's not go. Oh, let's go. Let's not go. Hey, come on, let's go. And then finally we go, and then we turn around one corner, and boom, like how we met you.
yeah.
It all just lined up that entire day.
That
Yeah.
was
Lined
amazing
up.
because
Yeah.
like, so I met David and Kimberly one day. I was walking down one of the main streets here in Bucerias,
A couple blocks away.
a
Yeah.
couple blocks away,
5-10 blocks away.
and I didn't know David and Kimberly. I had never met them in my entire life, and they stopped me, and they said, "You look like the type of person that goes to sacred medicine ceremonies." That's what they
I think
said.
it was
Like
a
you,
shirt or a shirt like that.
Yeah, I didn't get that one on.
well, like you go to these. You look like you're a person who goes to ceremony. Here's another one.
Here's another
Here's another one. It wasn't like I didn't have other ceremonies I could go to, but they're like, here's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another ceremony. I'm like, oh, okay. I went to a ceremony last week, but okay. You know, I'll go to that ceremony too. So that's how I met David in Kin. Is just through doing that, and we had a lovely time at the beach. We went down to Puerto Vallarta one day. We had like a little expedition to Puerto Vallarta, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then Sayulitas.
It's Sayulita.
Do you guys want some cacao or are we good?
I'll have some cacao.
Like a drink?
But I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how.
We're abundant here. This is abundance.
It must be what I need. 'cause-
Exactly.
Because I obviously have everything I need, and I always will.
Yeah.
But I can say no if I
Yeah.
want. You know, I still have that. It really, even though I can have everything that I need, I may actually not need that, or it might not
Yeah.
actually be best for myself at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I could eat 5 times this meal that we ate, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's good for me.
Well, that's also the discernment, right? Like,
Discernment.
you know, how much of this thing do I need? And like when we don't need something, maybe it's a good idea to circulate that thing out of our lives too. You know, like
And that's what we've done.
you know, like, okay, so if you have a big house and you let it be full of furniture and you never circulate the furniture that you don't need, then you don't have room for maybe something you like better, right? So I think that's one of the things a lot of baby boomers, they never learned how to do, was how to circulate things out of their lives. So they all have these attics like full of things, you know, like
Yeah.
you know, things that maybe could have gone to somebody, right? Maybe it's something that's useful.
That's like my grandma.
Yeah,
She died with so much cool stuff.
yeah,
And then my brother got paid the hoarder people to come take it away, the hoard removers.
yeah.
And during her life, I'm like, wow, Grandma, this is amazing. Can I have it? And she said, you can have it when I'm dead. It's like, so what I learned is it'd be better for me to give my stuff away and watch people enjoy it
Yeah.
rather than be gone and not get to see
And
that.
maybe you choose a few things you really like that have real deep meaning to you.
That's where I'm at now. I mean,
You know,
my suitcases is all I got left.
But like, You know, the idea that just because this was in your family for 5 generations, pick one object that was in your family for 5 generations, right? And, you know, allow the other objects to circulate. I mean,
Yep. Give them
in my parents' house, they have like, in their basement, they have this like big wall of boots. And like the old boots don't get thrown away. It's like, well, you know, when they're worn out, throw away the boot.
Yeah.
You know, like
When you're not gonna use it again.
throw the boot away so that you have space on that shelf for something else.
Kimberly
Yeah.
had a good way when she came into my house and in my life. She helped me remove things, and she's like, if you haven't used it in a year, come on. But there's an old Irish proverb: if you have something for 7 years, you're sure to find a use for it.
Yeah.
But that's not the way I want to live. You know, if you're not
Yeah.
using it, if it doesn't make you happy, if you're not using it, then why let it take up space?
Yeah, the only exception I make is I think it's good to have books, you know, and I think it's
Yes.
good to have a library. So I think it's good to have a library, and you don't always read all your books. You can also circulate books. You can just circulate a book to someone else, and you know, if you need the book again, if it's a book that's easy to replace, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, you can assume that it will show up.
Yeah. We
It's just,
released our whole library except for like 5 books each or something by the time we got down into our suitcases.
I put cayenne in it, so.
Oh yeah, cacao always tastes better with cayenne in it.
And cayenne is super amazing for you.
Yeah. Provecho.
Cayenne removes blood clots and plaque in your blood. It's good for your kidneys and your
Restore the
livers.
best vibration in the blood, do then the best vibration plus blood in your best cycles.
Yeah.
It's good for both of your livers.
I have maca, cinnamon, cayenne, cacao, and a little bit of raw organic agave and almond milk.
Hmm.
And it's divine.
One time we went to a cacao ceremony, and I think they made the cacao with like lard or
Oh, gross.
or fat or something.
Was this here in Mexico?
Yeah. Like, I think that they put some kind of animal oil in it, or ghee. It might have been either
Ghee.
It might have been
Oh.
ghee. So like
Is it a men's
by
ceremony?
the morning, it was like I got a cup and it had like this layer of the
Fat?
cooled
Yeah.
crust.
Ew, gross.
It was the mushroom ceremony, the mixed mushroom
Oh.
ceremony we went to.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully it was just coconut oil, but it didn't seem like it. It had a different texture, like it was animal fat.
Mm. No. We're cleansed from that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I am a strong believer of fasting for health. It's science-based now, not just, you know, a religious woo-woo thing.
Yeah.
It's evidence-based.
Well, you look at something like that belief in Islam where they have the fasting, and the reason they have that is that it's actually good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people should be forced to do it because I believe in people's free will of choice.
Yeah.
But you know, fasting is good for. I mean, it depends. I mean, I feel like my body needs some more. Like, I need to build up my body a little bit. But for the average person out there who doesn't take care of themselves, you know, I think fasting is a very good idea. Some people in the United States literally could fast for a year.
Some of it, in a way, could almost needs to be forced fasting. I mean, it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't really force anybody to do something. But if somebody is continually like self-sabotaging themselves and pretty much like killing themselves with the disease that they have, and they keep continuing eating, like those people that have diabetes and they just keep going for it,
like
Yeah.
putting them in a cell and not giving them food and just giving them water.
Yeah.
And maybe even like the full 7 days with enemas, so that you're cleaning out the actual parasites who are actually fighting them. You would save their life.
Yes.
But it's also up to their own
Free will.
free will to let their life be
will.
saved or not. But it's like, it's almost like, come on, can't we? Like, you almost want to just like grab somebody and throw them in the closet and be like, you're gonna get better.
Well,
And that's the free will aspect. Like, I know that this is all divine and perfect, but I do see that we have free will what we're going to put into our body temples. We have free will, you know, what thoughts, how we're going to choose to view something, the thoughts that we're going to think, you know, all those things.
well, I think like that maybe some of these people, they can find a coach to help them out. You know, a coach, because I think, you know, just saying like, oh, you can view this on YouTube and do it. I think when people have someone they're accountable to and they hire someone as their coach, I think it helps tremendously.
We have a
Yeah.
program for that.
Yeah.
We have an 8-session program that helps get people onto that, and different programs and different guides and stuff that we have to help people. There's the basics of learning fasting. We have a guide called Eating Not Eating, and then we have some services that we offer that Kimberly will do a free consultation and talk to you about what you're eating and about what your lifestyle is. And then we have an hour consultation that really helps go dive deeper. And then we have a consultation package that includes all these different meetings with Kimberly. She'll go with you through the grocery store to help you grocery shop, either in person or on video, and help go through your cupboards and what you have. She's done that service a lot for people and cleaned out their kitchens. And we also have a fasting retreat that we're doing.
Is there going to be
that
here in
we're leading.
Mexico, or?
No, that one's going to be in Northern
California.
California.
Oh, when
But
are you going
next
to do that?
Mexico, we will be doing one
Either
next year.
November or December. We have a
That's the 7-day fast, enema, cleanse, and we'll probably be maybe doing one in Mexico if we have the call for it before that, or next year. But we
But
start-
it takes people, like, this is just my observation, and I'm not saying this is an absolute, but getting really, really sick before they're like, I have got to do something about this. You know, having MS, Hashimoto's, Parkinson's, something, this cancer, debilitating before they are really willing to look at what their input is, you know, and
Those are
take
the ones that are
action
ready.
steps. They're really ready. And why does it take being that sick before you're ready to make a shift and be healthy?
Well, because a lot of people, they don't, like, there's this ego investment in what they've already done. They have an ego investment in it, right? So they don't want to look at themselves. You know, they don't want to look at their ego. Their ego is invested into who they already are. So I talk to people about this, and they're like, I am who I am. You know, when somebody says I am who I am, what that says to me, I mean, and you're talking about change, that means they have a resistance to changing who they are, to looking into their shadows, to looking in how to better their life. So a lot of times when they say, I am who I am, that's a defense mechanism to protect egoic woundings, is what's going on in all of this. And so, you know, I know someone that's like this, and I love them very much, but that's their choice, right? They don't desire to change. And if they're unhealthy and they don't desire to change, they don't get better. You know, like...
Yeah.
And that's why we
Yeah.
start them out with the mindfulness, to help teach them mindfulness and how they can sit and be, and also teach them the lessons of love, so that they can learn to respect and love their body temple, and learn self-love, and learn to practice self-love on themselves. And then once they understand that their body is their temple, and once they learn to love that, then they're willing to make that shift. They're willing to, they see that they're more than just, that's more than just the way that they are. They see that they can make the shift.
And sometimes it takes that disaster of a doctor's order saying you need chemo now.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes that, and chemo kills everything in your body, and more people die of cancer treatment than of cancer. The worst thing that you could do for somebody is tell them they have cancer. The best thing is to take care of themselves and eat healthy and right. Not even say you have cancer, because they give you the diagnosis. Next thing you know, they're killing you with chemo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another thing is
If you allow it, I mean.
the other thing is antibiotics, because antibiotics kills a lot of things in the body. So it kills both bad cells and good cells. So I think people need to be cognizant of that when they're using antibiotics. So I just read on Facebook, one of my former colleagues, they're like, oh, I had some kind of infection and I went to the hospital and the antibiotics took care of it. What else did the antibiotics do?
Yeah, what else did they take care of?
What else did it take
They
care of?
killed all the good things.
I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I want to make that very clear on this podcast. I'm not giving medical advice, but to look into that, to say what is it doing, and ask questions. These doctors, like, what does antibiotics do? How does it work?
Why are we even putting our trust in these doctors?
I don't know. That's a very, very good
They have
question.
They have no
worthiness.
authority.
They have, to me, they have no right to be trusted whatsoever. I mean, maybe if you have a broken leg and you go to the emergency room after a car accident,
So
maybe
they can reset the broken bones and they can grow out.
I think they probably still do a fine job of that, but aside from that and a couple other things, I think people are still going to pay attention to them. There's going to have to be some massive reform necessary. Maybe they can learn some nutrition from you, because the honest truth is that, if 50% of our health, if a large percent of our health, it comes from what we eat, then ultimately medical school should have 50% of the content should be about nutrition, or maybe at least 30%, better than
No, 80.
Yeah, well, whatever the percentage is, a lot more than right now.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
They used to, in villages, when they had a doctor, he would only get paid, or she, or whoever it was, would only get paid if the people were healthy. Not if they were sick. We have a sick care system, not a health care system. If
Doctors are getting paid to keep people
They're
sick.
getting people paid to keep people sick, and the pharmaceutical industry is, making a shit ton of money off of everybody's lack of
and it should respect my right to have a job. I shouldn't have to take a vaccine just to, not that I really desire a job anymore, but because job represents just over broke. It should, if somebody wants to work and they don't want to take an experimental injection, they shouldn't have to. There needs to be some more maturity in the medical profession. I think that most doctors, in the way they've acted the past 2 years, they're more immature than the average teenager on prom night. Because you look at that, at least prom night, they just want to have a beer or kiss their girlfriend, whereas these doctors think that they need to control the world,
Well, I don't know if it's the doctors or the agenda behind them, but this is one thing that I always said, as a woman, I would never go to a hairstylist that had a really bad hairdo. And if you're going to see a doctor, I used to have him come into my work all the time. He had this big beer belly. He was the furthest thing I could actually see from healthy. Drink beer, eat fried, shitty food. Why are you trusting someone like that for your health?
Yeah, I want my doctor to look like they've been to the Olympics. You know, I don't want a doctor, but
I don't even want a doctor.
I want my doctor to look like they are like some kind of an athlete or sports star, or you know, that's what they should look like. And because if you see a doctor that's a smoker, if you see a doctor that's like overweight, you're like, how is this person supposed to advise me about my health?
Have you
know,
seen
like,
the Board of Health for the United States?
and they have, do
The
they have
board
one
of-
that's
there's
like,
a Board of Health for the United States. These people that are in charge of health systems
or
across the
supposedly
United
in
States.
charge of health
And they
systems,
have-
yeah.
Oh, gracias. And they have like their eyes are black and sunken in, and they're like just not healthy. They're like their
Yeah.
skin's almost green. It's like grayish green. Like you can
Yeah.
totally see that they're absolutely not healthy. One of them's super overweight, and they are in charge of health across the United States.
Yeah.
They're elected officials supposedly.
Well,
That's not the kind of people that we should have.
I showed this, like, I don't know, there's like person who's the Assistant Secretary of Health in the U.S. You know, it's like a man who became a woman and they're like overweight or something like that. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. And they're like the Assistant Secretary of Health in the U.S. And they're like, they look
I think
awful.
so. Yeah.
And then I'm like, how is this person in charge of health? You know, or supposedly.
Because
know.
it needs to get so ridiculous that people probably finally start questioning it. That's the only thing I can think of.
And I
It's
showed
got
a,
to be super ridiculous.
and I showed a picture of this to my friend, and I said, "Do you see anything wrong with this?" And they're like, "No, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Can't you see what I see? Does this person look healthy to you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, you know, at some point, that's their adventure." You
That's
know,
their
and I just
adventure.
respect their adventure. They're on their own adventure. I'm on my own adventure. And I just hope they enjoy it and have a good time.
Well, we're going on hour and 45 minutes, probably hour
Yeah.
50 now. So time for a little bit of a recap. Do whatever you want. Any other final words?
Well, do whatever you desire to do as long as you are respecting and honoring of other people. I'd like to put that caveat in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they don't respect and honor themselves, they're not going to respect and honor other people, which means it all boils down to self-love. So do whatever you want.
Learn to love yourself.
Yes, please.
Give yourself a hug, and then do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it like do whatever you want. Is it like, you know, if you want to pray, if you want to meditate, if you want to go eat hamburgers, whatever.
Yeah.
That's you're free to it. It's not gonna bother me.
No, it's not gonna bother me.
I see a better way, and that's cool. I'm here for you if you need.
Yeah.
All right, have a great day, everyone.
Love, love, love.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Rex, for your patience
Thank you.
and your understanding. You're very great at talking. You're very great at having a conversation, and it easily could have gotten into arguments here and there. It easily could have gotten into negative or just anger, or any feelings or emotions could have overwhelmed in any way. And it was great being able that we all had a conversation and we weren't having an argument.
Good
It's a
job,
deb-
Rex.
it
Thank
was
you.
in times it was a debate.
Yeah.
And that was great that
Yeah,
we had
well-
a debate. And
Are we
Yeah.
off camera now?
not
or-
yet. No,
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Ah.
I wanted to end it that way. Like, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, people have to learn how to, you know, do nonviolent debate
Yes.
with other
Yeah.
people. It's not. I'm still practicing. I think we're all